Hello, my world history students. This is your second video of the week. For this video, we're going to talk about the Golden Age. This was a time, the Golden Age of tolerance in Europe. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So there was a time long ago when Jews, Muslims, and Christians all lived together in harmony. This time in history is remembered as a Golden Age of tolerance because it lasted for several hundred years on the Iberian Peninsula in what was then Muslim-controlled Spain. So let's go back before 1492 to see just how the three religions lived under one roof. Muslim leaders of the Iberian Peninsula showed tolerance for Jews and Christians. The sacred book of the Muslims, the Quran, says that people can't be forced to convert, so they let the Jews and the Christians keep their religions. But the Muslims did not grant them equality. They were forced to pay a tax that allowed them to practice their religions. Even with this tax, followers of the Jewish faith were very fortunate in comparison to the Jews throughout the rest of Europe. At best, Jews across Europe were simply tolerated. They usually lived apart from their Christian neighbors and couldn't practice or participate in regular society. They were prohibited from holding office and couldn't marry a Christian. They could not participate in politics and often faced violence. Mobs of Christians attacked Jews in the towns of Worms, Germany, and hundreds were killed. Both England and France, and later Spain, expelled Jews from their lands. On the Iberian Peninsula, Jews could freely practice their religion. Al-Andalus, as Muslim Spain was referred to, Jews were not seen as a threat and therefore rose high in the ranks of society. Some even held high posts in government. This tolerance attracted more Jews to settle in Al-Andalus from all over Europe and North Africa. This diverse backgrounds gave the country a unique mix of talents that included medicine, the arts, and sciences. Members of the Jewish faith in Al-Andalus created poetry and wrote books on philosophy. One such author, Ibn Gabral, was thought to be the top philosopher of any time, and his work, Von's Vitae, was later included in Christian teachings. Jews also served as translators of many scientific publications, translating from Arabic into Latin, French, Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese. A Jewish doctor helped write an Arabic version of a teaching text and reference manual that was used around Europe. In 1030, much of Al-Andalus was in disarray. Conflicts had turned one kingdom into 24 smaller ones. The Jews were looked to for support and even leadership. Many attained high-ranking jobs in the Muslim-controlled cities. Service jobs like doctors, scientists, and scholars were in great demand, and Jews were qualified to fill them. The period of tolerance ended in 1492 when Muslims lost control of the peninsula to Catholic monarchs. Through a series of royal decrees and edicts, the rulers in Spain sought to get rid of the Jewish and Islamic faith. Some 300,000 Jews and Muslims, up to a quarter of the Spanish population at the time, had to convert to Catholicism or flee Spain or were killed in the Spanish Inquisition. The Golden Age of tolerance was over. All right, so let's talk about some of the art and literature of the Golden Age. The Golden Age of tolerance was a relatively peaceful time along the Iberian Peninsula. There, under the control of Muslims, Christians and Jews lived and worked in relative harmony with the Muslims. Great strides were made in the areas of art, philosophy, and the science. Freedom to worship led to the freedom to explore. Since forced conversion was not allowed in the Muslim faith, Jews and Christians were allowed to maintain their religious beliefs. With no fear of persecution, Jews made great strides in the advancement of cultural and scientific developments. The use of Arabic by both Muslims and Jews made it easy to communicate and share thoughts on new ideas. Jewish scientists were able to add significant knowledge to the books of the time. In the area of astronomy, Jewish astronomers added to the understanding of the order of the planets, created star lists, and perfected the use of scientific instruments. Jewish scientists were botanists, or scientists who understood plant health, longevity, and life cycle. In the field of medicine, a Jewish doctor, Maimonides, divided medicine into the three fields: a cure for the sick, treatment of the elderly, and preventative medicine. The areas of algebra and geometry were studied by Jewish mathematicians who translated many Arabic writings into Hebrew. Jews added to the knowledge and study of the earth in the field of geography. Abraham Crescas was a 14th century mapmaker who created the massive Catalan Atlas. It used information from Marco Polo's travels, remember him in the Silk Road? Which informed sailors on tides and telling time at night. The Catalan Atlas was the first time a compass rose appeared on a map. The Alhambra in Granada, Spain, is a beautiful example of the mix between Jewish and Arabic cultures. Vizier Samuel ibn Nagrala renovated and rebuilt Alhambra on the ruins of a former Jewish settlement. Muhammad moved his palace to this former fortress in 1237. In time, it actually became a small, walled city with canals bringing running water and lush gardens providing a tranquil, peaceful atmosphere. Artistic expression blossomed during this time period. Artists of all religions experimented with various media: ivory, bronze, jewels, textiles, and ceramics. Beautiful script writing called calligraphy was used in religious texts. Even swords became objects of beauty. The importance of Jewish contributions to Moorish society during the Golden Age cannot be understated. All right, so now we're going to talk about superstition and persecution. There's a saying that all good things must come to an end. The Golden Age of Tolerance was a good thing that disappeared when King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella married and took control of most of Spain. Those two names should be familiar to you. We've talked about them before. They were the one that sent Christopher Columbus to the Americas to find a route to India. Since the king and queen were Catholic, they shared the feelings of many outside the peninsula. They believed their religion was the one true religion, and any others, especially Islam or Judaism, were just wrong. Both the Jews and Muslims occupying the southern portion of the Iberian Peninsula, the king and the queen looked for a way to remove them and claim control of the entire region for Catholicism. Muhammad, known by his Spanish name Bojabil, ruler of the Muslims, had control of Granada and eventually surrendered to Ferdinand and Isabella, with a promise that the Muslims and Jews in Granada could continue to live there in peace among the Catholics. But with the issuance of the Roman Catholic Inquisition in Spain, the Catholic monarchs pursued a policy of religious and national unity. The first inquisitor, General Torquemada, was able to convince the king to issue the Alhambra decree, which ordered the conversion or exile of all Muslim and Jewish subjects from Spain. So they went back on their promise not to kick them out. So thousands of Muslims and Jews left the country. Those that remained, however, were faced with the choice of baptism or death. So conversion or death. The number of converts to the Christian faith soon became very great. So if you were given the choice to either convert or die, obviously most of us would convert to whatever religion they told us to in order to preserve our life. Many Jews were killed, and those who adopted Christian beliefs faced continual suspicion and prejudice. In addition, there remained a significant population of Jews who had professed conversion but still continued to practice their faith in secret. Known as Marranos, those converts from the Jewish faith were perceived to be an even greater threat to the social order than those who had rejected the forced conversion. Many horrible and brutal tortures and atrocities occurred because of this. The horrible treatment by Jews and Muslims because of the Spanish Inquisition quickly brought the era of peaceful living known as the Golden Age of Tolerance to the Iberian Peninsula to an end. All right. Intolerance prevails. Have you ever thought of the meaning of the word intolerance? Well, it's the opposite of tolerance, which means that you show understanding for beliefs that may be in conflict with your own. It doesn't always mean you accept it, but you let it happen. You may tolerate someone that you don't agree with so you can complete a task, for example, or in our case, you may work with a student on a project that you may not normally want to work with, but you still do anyway. Most people rightly feel it's cruel to show intolerance, which is an unwillingness to accept views, beliefs, or behaviors that differ from your own. When the Muslims controlled the Iberian Peninsula, they showed a tolerance for other religions by not forcing them to convert to their religion. They tolerated other religions. They were tolerant with the Christians and Jews, but they didn't fully accept them. While the Christian and Jews all added to advancements on the Iberian Peninsula, they had to pay a special tax simply because they weren't Muslim. When King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella took Spain back from the Muslims in 1492 with the Spanish Inquisition, they showed little tolerance. Just a few months after taking control, the new monarch showed their intolerance for Jews by forcing them to either convert to Christianity or die. It is estimated that 200,000 Jews were expelled from Spain. Muslims were next. At the beginning of the 17th century, King Philip III expelled all the Muslims from the peninsula. Within a period of 4.5 years, approximately 300,000 men, women, and children, known as Moriscos or half-Moors, were forcefully removed from Spain. This event was considered at the time the largest ethnic deportation in the history of Europe. So this was the largest amount of people forced to leave a country up until this point in Europe. All right, guys. So I'm going to end the video lesson here. This is a little shorter than normal, but I just wanted to cover this topic because we would normally not cover it in world history. So the Golden Age of Tolerance was a time of religious, not acceptance, but ability and willingness to accept other people's beliefs, even though they didn't agree with it. Okay, but we saw with the Spanish Inquisition that they went back on that word, and the Spanish Catholics ended up forcing the deportation of Muslims and Jewish people from the Iberian Peninsula. Okay, so your assignment is going to be a geography assignment, just like you would normally do on the back of your newspapers in class. You are going to compare and contrast the Iberian Peninsula before and after the Golden Age of Tolerance. Okay, so again, you're going to scroll down in the description of your video, click on the link, and it'll take you to the worksheet. You can fill it out and show me your answers. Friday morning at 9:30, or you can email me your answers as well. Remember, if you do both assignments for both the videos, you're going to be entered to win a $25 gift card. All right, so make sure you get on that. All right, guys, this is going to be it for today, and I look forward to seeing you on Zoom. Bye.